Hello and welcome back to the Word Examined. This is part number 2 of a Bible study that we done a few weeks ago on Daniel and the lion's den. Was it real? Can you prove it? Can you see it today? So in this unique Bible study, we take subjects from the Bible and we go through the scriptures as well as using Google Earth to put images to the text, and we found some pretty interesting things. So stay tuned. We're going to look at some more today. Okay guys, so I am going to be looking in the book of Daniel. I want to look at a place. Now last time, we'll do a little bit of a recap. Last time we looked at the Lion of Babel, and I'll put a link in the description below. Also, you can click on it right here. And we looked at the Lion of Babel. We looked at the city of Babylon. We looked at a couple of different things. The Ishtar Gate, and found some very, very interesting things. The Lion of Babel, you can look up in Wikipedia. It is believed that it was made by King Nebuchadnezzar himself. When you read about Daniel being thrown in the lion's den under the reign of King Darius, it talks about a stone that was put over the mouth of the den, and it very well could be that Lion of Babel that we see there. So, but today I want to look at Daniel chapter number 8. So in Daniel chapter number 8, this is where Daniel has the vision. So in verse number 1 says, actually let me pull it up on the screen here. Could have had all this ready. Using the Takarta Bible app, we'll go to Daniel chapter number 8, verse number 1. So the Bible says, "In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first." Now he's talking about the vision that he had in chapter number 7. So in verse number 2, and you should read this. You should read chapter number 7, 8, 9, and 10, and you should read about these visions. But we'll read chapter number 8 here for the most part. But I'm interested in this place where Daniel says he is. So he says, "And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace." There's a little footnote here. This is also the same palace where Nehemiah, the cup holder, we know Nehemiah the prophet that rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem, and he was a cup bearer for the king. And then this is the palace where the story of Esther takes place. And so a lot of stuff going on at this Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And Daniel says, "And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai." So let's go ahead and look up the river Ulai just to see. I'm going to look up the river Ulai today. Now, Ulai was the Hebrew name for a river near the city of Susa. It was known as Laius to the Greeks. It's mentioned twice in the Bible. But there's also Ulai in, and you'll remember that Susa is actually Shushan. So Shushan in Daniel's time, today's time, it's Susa. Ulai in Hebrew is actually let's see here. Let's look up Hiddekel. Hiddekel River in Hebrew. Oh, that didn't work. Hiddekel meaning in Hebrew. So this is one of the rivers of the Garden of Eden that comes from the Garden of Eden. But there we go. So it's the Tigris River, which is a tributary of the Euphrates River. Now, let's go back to our text. All right, so at Shushan in the palace, and I saw in a vision, I was by the river of Ulai, or the Tigris River. So Daniel says, Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. And I saw the ram pushing westward, and you can read on. So we're not studying the vision that Daniel had, but Gabriel comes to Daniel to make him understand these visions. You see in verse 15, And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, or the Tigris River, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood. When he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. Okay, so what we know just from the text is that Daniel was by the river Ulai, or as we looked it up in modern day time, it's the Tigris River. And then, which is also the Hiddekel River. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But he says, I was at Shushan in the palace. And then he says, I was by the river of Ulai. Okay, so now let's go over to Google Earth. We're going to look at our projects here. Let's look up Daniel. So this is a pretty fascinating study that I've done. So let's go to the Tower of Babel. Okay, so we've got the Tower of Babel here, and we're loading. There, we're 100%. Okay, so we've got the Tower of Babel. We're doing just a little bit of recap. And when I started reading this, I kind of thought maybe that this was Shushan, and that, this was the palace around here in Babylon, and that this is the river, but it's actually not. This is the river, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the Euphrates River. And of course we can't find a name for it. And the Ishtar Gate. See if we can find it up here. No. Alright, so we are in Iraq. The Tower of Babel. This is the city that was being built. This is the tower that was being built where God himself looked and decided to come down and confound their language. And we looked at the palace here. And we looked at the Ishtar Gate here. And then we looked at the... Huh, that's new. I have not seen the remains of the Hanging Garden of Babylon. Let's take a look at it. Oh, okay, so they're calling... I've looked at that, but it wasn't called the remains. But what we looked at was this here. So if you take your little man here and you go click on the little circle, so it flies you in, and there's Padre. He's been there every time I looked at this thing. And here's the Lion of Babel. Now, if I can find... We'll do a quick search right here so you can see. Lion of Babel. I don't believe I've done this last time. Let's just look at the Wikipedia. So it was discovered in 1876 by a German archaeological mission. The Lion of Babel is over 2,600 years old. The statue was built by the Chaldean Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II. The statue had been damaged over the years due to lack of protection, getting climbed on by tourists, blah, 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 blah. The statue is made out of black basalt, black stone. It depicts a Mesopotamian lion standing above a laying human. The statue is 2 meters in length, and the platform upon which it stands is 1 meter. The lion weighs about 7,000 kilograms. And then, of course, it has all this other stuff, but you can see if it'll let me enhance this. You know, the picture we're looking at, and where are we at? In Google Earth here. This is flat. It's all been excavated. It's a nice little patio. When they discovered this thing, it was down in these pits. You can see here. So it's safe to say this is probably the stone or representative of the den of lions that Daniel was thrown in. Okay, so we're done there. Let's come back out of this. Now, back in our text, Daniel's talking about being at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, I was by the river of Ulai. All right, so I've titled it the Palace of King Darius, but let's zoom over here, and this is incredible. Alright, so I'm going to come back out a little bit. Let me get rid of this so we got our full screen. Don't do that. Your full screen back. Okay. Now, so here's the river. Now, pulling back out of this, you can see this is the Tower of Babel. This is Iraq. And when we come over here, we're actually in Shush, or what is known as Susa. And this is, even though I've titled it Palace of King Darius, this is what they are calling the Apadana, I believe. Yeah, Apadana Castle in Shush. The palace of Darius in Susa was a palace complex in Susa, Iran, a capital of the Armenian Empire. So you've got, I mean, you can look through these. Pretty fascinating. Let's go larger. There's the palace. There's from the side of the palace. Not sure what that is. Looks like it, some kind of, maybe a calf head. Looks like they dug it up. Layout of the palace, blueprint. Some artifacts. There's some remains. Not sure what that is. I highly doubt they had those types of tools back then. There's a full picture of the palace. Now this is not something that I have titled. This is what history knows, or the world knows, as the Palace of King Darius. There's some more remains. You can see the intricate artwork. This was royalty. This was the palace of the king. Okay, so let's go back. Now, it's kind of interesting too. So Daniel says he was at Shushan in the palace, and I was by the river of Ulai. All right, so let's see. So here's the river. Here's the palace. Now, this is claimed to be the tomb of Daniel. I have no idea. No idea if that's true. It is obvious that this is the palace of King Darius. This is the river. So when Daniel says that he has this great vision, he is somewhere in this area right here. But we are going to click on our little man, and it gives us all kinds of little destinations that we can come check out. And we're going to just pop down on one here right in the middle of the palace. Here's some of the remains. And look, I mean, you can get a real life representation of how big this palace is. All right. Let's pull out of there. Believe no street views. Well, it says there is. Oh, did they take it off? Don't tell me they took it off. Oh, they did. Okay, let's go over here. Hopefully they didn't. You could literally get right up on the palace, but I think they did. There's the palace. Here's the remains. Let's go back out. Oh, come on. Really? Okay. The palace is actually sitting right here on this hill, but it looks like, which is unfortunate, because just a few weeks ago we could look at it right here. No street view. Data is available here. Ah, oh, that's no good. No good at all. Let's try right here. Yeah, we're even further away from the palace now. But you can see Palace is huge. They're not going to let us go into the palace. That is sad. I don't know why. No, that's not what I wanted. You could view it just a couple of weeks ago. I might be wrong. I just seen something. I might actually be wrong. So, of course, this is just a street in Iran. I mean, you've got all this ancient history. Right there's the palace. And somewhere in this area, Daniel was by the river and has this... he has this vision. And in this vision, Gabriel, the same angel that came to Mary, came to Gabriel to help him understand this vision. So when we're looking at this, these people, sometimes I wonder, do they even have a clue that they're right where they are? So with that being said, I just seen something over here. So right here's the palace. I don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah, right here. So let's check out these. Yeah. Okay, so we're like right beside the palace here. Now, when you read the Bible and it talks about the king's courts or the gate, you can see kind of what the court or the king or the gate. This is the big open area where you've come through. Let's back out. You've come through the gate and you're entering into the palace. Now you've seen right there. Let's go here now. This should take us right up on the side of the palace here. We'll get an up close look. Yeah. So this is the palace. These are, from what I know, this is original foundations, original bricks down here on the bottom. I mean, this is fascinating stuff. You know, if I had to guess, in Daniel's day, this is probably what it looked like, you know, instead of the community being built over here and, you know, so many people back in here and all that happened. So this is the palace of King Darius. So when Daniel talks about I was in the palace, you can see all the where they've excavated all of this. It's highly incredibly likely that this is the center of the palace or the main hall of the palace, but that the palace and the city actually stretched out this far or farther. You've got the river right here. You know, Daniel died in captivity. So this might be his... I think he died in captivity. I might be wrong about that. But I'm assuming that he did. And then we can take a look at this. Now, as far as any of this stuff, I have no idea. Traditional burial place of the biblical and Islamic prophet. Wow. Daniel. So, just so everybody knows, Daniel was an Israelite. He was a prince. He was one of the ones that was chosen to come before King Nebuchadnezzar. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar renamed him and his companions So Daniel's name was renamed to Belteshazzar. And then we know the three Hebrew children by their Chaldean names, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. So this says out of Wikipedia that Daniel was an Islamic prophet, but in fact he was an Israelite. So, no offense to Islam, but Daniel was not Islamic. He was an Israelite. We can check out and see if there's anything. So let's go down here to the river. The first time I looked at all this, I just got chills thinking about this. This is the river where Daniel was in the palace, and he was by this river, and he has this vision. Now, it's vastly different from what it was back then as far as what it looks like, but it is the same river, and it's the same location. It's the same ground. This is a place where an angel of God, Gabriel, came to Daniel. And so, it fascinates me. Just fascinates me. I think it's incredibly. So I kind of feel like we need to prove that this is the actual river a little bit more. So let's see. Let's do River of Ulai. Modern English. Let's try this. I found it one time. I guess we're going to have to. Well, let's look in the Wikipedia. Gotta love the Wikipedia. Been twice in the Bible. Prophecy by the Ulai Canal, NIV. I'm a King James only, just so you guys know. King James only guy. I heard a man's voice calling from the Ulai. Gabriel tell this man, there are 3 watercourses near Shushan. Scholars are divided on which is indicated, although archaeology by law help shed some light. The Ulai may have been the eastern branch of the Karka River, called the Carpus. Yeah, that's some stuff I have never read before. Not. Let's try River. I'm sorry. Pinnacle River. Let's look at some maps. That's not what I wanted. Okay, yeah. It's not what I was looking for. Shushan, we already talked about Shushan, so this is Susa. And then it's just fascinating to me that these are real places. It's not that I don't believe the Bible by any means. I've had you guys on the wrong screen here. Sorry about that. It's not that I don't believe the Bible by any means, but when you can look at the real place where the Bible says these things happen, then it just, I don't know, it gives this concreteness to it. Makes it real. You can go to Calvary. So with that being said, let me flip you guys back over here. With that being said, if you like this type of Bible study, it's a little unorganized, sure, but we're just having a good time. But if you like this type of Bible study and you want me to do a study involving Google Earth on a certain subject, like, I don't know, Christ's tomb, Golgotha, you can look at the locations that the Bible talks about with Jonah, where he's called to Nineveh, but then he goes to Joppa, and then he's heading toward Tarshish. You can look at all three of those places on the map, and you can get a better idea of like what Jonah was thinking. There's several different studies that we can do. If you like this video, if you like this type of Bible study, do me a favor, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you hadn't subscribed, but then leave me a comment and tell me what you would like me to do a Bible study on with Google Earth and looking up things like this. So that's all the time we have for today. I'm Jeremy Jones. This is The Word Examined. I've enjoyed this time with you, and I hope you've enjoyed this study. And God bless you, and tune in next time for another Bible study with The Word Examined.